This 19-year-old stole $1 million from his employer with one simple method. We've all at one stage hated a job, whether it's the long hours, the people you work with, or in the case of today's video, the lack of money. Our main character, Trey Brown, took this level of hatred and turned it into a lovely little slice of $1 million fraud. In late December of 2020, Mr. Brown was working in a grocery store owned by the company Kroger in the county of Gwinnett, Georgia. The day, we can imagine, was like no other, providing basic hospitality and service to his loyal patrons. Little did the customers know the person serving them was on the brink of committing a federal crime. Right from that exact spot, he was serving them. I don't know if it was the thought of Christmas being around the corner or the mounting frustrations of a job that feels like it's just gonna go nowhere, but a light bulb literally shattered in Mr. Brown's head that day. And what followed was something that not only shocked his employer or his colleagues, but the entire local community.
What does a 18-year-old know how to spend $1 million?
If he can do it, some other people that are around him knows how to do it too.
You see, Brown wasn't just another disgruntled employee looking to escape the grind. No, he had a much bigger plan in mind. He took his frustrations and, in a twisted way, turned them into an opportunity to get rich. And he did it in a way that's almost as easy as spamming R1, R2, L1X, left down, right up on PlayStation 2 San Andreas. Mr. Brown had developed his own money cheat code. Now, before we dive any deeper into this story, just think about this for a second, okay? Imagine you're working a regular shift, thinking about what you're going to eat for lunch or how long it is until payday, and you suddenly stumble upon a loophole that could literally change your life forever. Would you take advantage of it? Would you risk it all for that little bit of cheddar? Like we're on some bloody game show? Stick around, because by the end of this video, you'll see exactly how Trey's greed got to the best of him and why it all just came crashing down in the most ironic way possible. In just 2 weeks alone, he managed to steal $1 million from his employer. A bit of a step up, I can imagine, from his current salary. However, during that week, he was still clocking in for work, acting like everything was hunky-dory. He was working a normal life, doing his bit for the community, serving the local grannies. Here you go, love, here's your Tylenol, there's your ibuprofen. So essentially, he was seemingly flying under the radar. However, the crazy part is, it wasn't actually his employer, Kroger, the massive pharmaceutical company, that found out about any of these dodgy loophole dealings. It was actually someone a lot closer to him. We'll get into that a little bit later. As most of these stories go, people who gain a lot of money quickly are never inconspicuous, are they? I can imagine some of you probably have the impression this might be some high-tech hacking operation, like he's just sitting there in the back room, hood up, the entire screen is just filled with bloody green text. However, Brown's technique was surprisingly simple. The teen had discovered a loophole in the Kroger system. He made fake returns on items, the majority of them being lottery tickets, which he then cashed back onto his own credit card. And, you know, Bob's your uncle. Essentially, he claimed money that had never been won and diverted that money to a credit card in his name. And being a trusted employee, I can imagine, he could just write in any number he wants, essentially, and be like, oh, I want 10 grand that day, I'll take 12. When going through this process, he was fairly inconspicuous, but I'm assuming, you know, he must have started down the line to be a little bit sloppy. So essentially, Brown would repeat this process again and again and again, starting off fairly low with, like, say, $10 amounts, moving up to the $100. Then at the end, he decided, you know, $87,000 was a good return price, and he thought, yeah, I'll get away with that. I mean, I've got away with 100, I got away with 1,000. Let's do 87,000. Why not? I will never understand how a grocery and pharmaceutical tyrant do not have the system in place to get a little bit of a, you know, like a warning sign or something to say, yeah, this looks a bit odd. This isn't normal. Just something to notify them of any weird changes in their accounting. You just assume that they would have something, considering, according to Google, you know, they're only worth a measly 40 billion. All of these refunds he was doing was to a card that he owned, and potentially other people's cards, but that's not proven. That has been speculated in other stories I've read.
A teen like this likely had help to create a scam in this size.
He was essentially winning the lottery over and over and over again. He was getting all this money transferred into, I can assume, a credit or a debit card, and spending it however he wants. And with this money, he decided, you know, it's going to be a good idea. Let's buy some guns, some clothes, and some jewelry. Imagine you're a lower class American near Christmas time. Not a great thing to imagine. But imagine you've got a vast amount of money out of nowhere. Whatever that low class American would buy with that vast amount of money, he bought. And by the end of this bubble bath of splashing cash around, he had spent $980,000 in 2 weeks. And he thought, well, they haven't a clue. Why don't I just buy a car as well? No, I'll buy 2 cars. He bought 2 cars. He essentially lived the life of someone who was living it big time and splashed it out. He thought, you know what, this might run out soon. He lived it up. He made the most of it. Fair play. I mean, not fair play. He committed a federal crime, but you understand what I'm throwing down. And all this time, just hiding in plain sight as an employee at a pharmaceutical store / grocery store. But as we know, all good things don't last forever. I'm sure your girlfriend's told you that many a times. Or in this case, no bad things last forever, because he did commit a crime. It wasn't Kroger's internal investigation team. It was someone working right beside him. And that employee decided, you know what, I'm going to tip off Kroger. I'm going to let them know. I'm going to hopefully cash in a little bit of a reward bonus, which I can't imagine was a lot compared to what he was making. Maybe he's now a manager of that Kroger now. Someone go find out. You know, the rest is history. Something didn't look right, and it wasn't right, and it all just started to unravel. Brown's elaborate fraud was exposed, and it wasn't by some high-tech surveillance. It was by someone who probably worked on the till next to him. It seems to me that the co-worker might have got jealous of this massive change of lifestyle. This is all hypothetical, of course. It might just be a massive assumption. It probably is a massive assumption on my part. But from some of the reports I've read, which I mentioned earlier, there are some reports that say that he had to have been working with multiple people. And I'm thinking, was his co-worker maybe involved in this and he's not been given the right cut? He's getting a bit fed up of Brown buying 2 cars and, you know, all these guns. Maybe he just got fed up of his shtick. You know what I mean? He was just like, no, I've had enough of that. No, we had a good little thing going here, and he's going out buying all these cars. Or just the scheme wasn't going how he wanted it to go, and he just... Or maybe he was just a nice guy. But that's just my weird little theory, I suppose. And just days before Brown's arrest, in a moment of maybe carelessness or arrogance, he decided to total one of his new cars.
But police say one of the cars Brown purchased was a Camaro, and his alleged shopping spree finally took a destructive turn when Brown totaled the Camaro prior to being arrested at his home for theft.
That was the final nail in the coffin. You know, at least he's got the other car, though, I suppose. Well, he doesn't, because that was probably seized as well. Authorities were clearly quick to close in on him after this situation and, you know, just adding it all up in their little notepads. One report does say a large amount of money was returned to the company following his arrest. Now, Brown faces charges of, theft by taking. And though he was released on bond, his life and criminal career took a sharp turn that day. Can't find any more information online about what his full charges were. Maybe I'm terrible at researching. I will get better. This is my first video. So while editing this video, I thought I'd do a little bit more research and find out if I could actually find any charges that he received. I got linked to this webpage, and I believe Trey Anthony Brown is deceased as of March the 10th, 2023. As much as I have found a lot of this video quite humorous, this is not funny. This happened 2 years after this situation, and I'm sure they're not related at all. I hope they're not. My heart goes out to the family, and yeah. So, what's the lesson here? Is it the dangers about fraud? The ease in which one can fall into temptation? Perhaps it's a reminder of however clever you think you are, one day the law will smack you in the face with a big old, "You'll go into jail." He decided to take a little shortcut in life, which sometimes we do, but not all of the time do they end in, again, federal fraud. If you're making that kind of money that quickly, you're either a really clever individual or a massive dumbass who is about to live a life behind an array of metal bars. Thank you so much for watching. There is another video on the screen. I don't know what side it's on, but YouTube thinks that you might watch that and you might like it. So, I don't know. I'm not YouTube. I'll see you next time.